institution, student crises and troubled students were handled historically in an ad hoc way, meaning someone would call and say, gee, this guy looks really weird, and he doesn't bathe anymore, and he bursts out in class, and somebody needs to do something about that. And so that call could go half a dozen or a dozen different places, and then that person would call somebody, and people would figure it out. And for the most part, I think that worked pretty well here. It's a pretty small place. I worked at Georgia for a while. Obviously, a bigger place, that didn't work at all. And so one of the things I was asked to do at Georgia was to create a response team. I think often schools are called BIT, Behavior Intervention Teams. You've probably heard of that. So we spent about a year trying to do that there, and then I moved here and was asked to kind of do that again. Shortly after we established this, a man named Mr. Cho made everyone have a really bad day at Virginia Tech. And in student affairs profession, we so often learn from our colleagues, and sometimes they're not so great experiences. I happen to have been fortunate enough to have been a friend and a colleague of a woman who was the vice president for student affairs at Virginia Tech when the shooting occurred. And she is since deceased, but she was so generous with sharing with her student affairs colleagues across the country what they learned from managing that kind of experience. I've had some opportunities to meet with her face-to-face and talk with her about that. A lot of different levels and aspects of that, from staff to the legal problems and the counseling center and all kinds of things. But one of the things I think we learned was how hard it is to share information about a student. And I think you and your roles are key to us knowing about students who are troubled. So when we put together the student information team, our goal was to put people on this team that had the ability to learn about student behaviors across campus. So I chair the team, but we have our dean of students there. We have an associate provost on the team. The registrar is on the team. The director of housing. We have a detective from the police department here on campus. The director of our counseling center is on the campus. We have a university attorney on the campus. There's a lot of questions about, should we have an attorney in the room? And I'm thinking, yeah, because I want to stay out of trouble. But I also want to know how far we can go in doing certain things with the student, and I'll explain that in a minute. So we had a really good core group that we pulled together, and we spent about a year going through all kinds of training. We brought trainers in to threat assessment. We sent people to different places to learn about how you help faculty manage disruptive students. What are faculty's rights in the classroom? That sort of thing. Meantime, all of this investigation is going on at Virginia Tech while we're doing all this. And I don't know if any of you have read the final investigative report that the governor asked to be done at Virginia Tech. But it's an interesting report, and there are many things to learn from it. What stood out in my mind is that a lot of people knew that Mr. Cho was a troubled man. A lot of people. And if there's a fault to be pointed at Virginia Tech's direction, it's that they didn't share that information. They didn't have the structure, if you will, to formally share that. So there were pockets of concern, and there were pockets of concern in their community as well. But looked at this big picture and said, So I think probably the thing that student affairs learned most significantly is you've got to share this information about students. You've got to get a full picture. Because as you know, if a kid's acting out in your class, he's probably also having trouble in the residence hall. Maybe he's been arrested by the police for something. Maybe he's acted out somewhere else. The library seems to be a place that students like to act out. So sharing that information was key to us. The other thing that came out was we needed to train people. We needed to talk to faculty and staff and say, here's what you do, because people were sort of lost about that. And I think 20 years ago, we would not have thought of campuses as a dangerous place. Just, we didn't. Now, there were crazy students doing violent acts 20 years ago, and we could kind of start that list and go all the way back to a shooting at the University of Texas from a tower. There have been incidents. But I don't think we generalized that until Columbine and then the things that have happened since then.